guys, it's Amanda from the Fiction Fairy, and today I'm bringing you a review, and the review is on Between the Sea and Sky by Jacqueline Dollimore. Now let's talk about first things first. As usual, let's talk about the cover. Now the cover I thought was absolutely beautiful. It's simplistic, it has these beautiful hues of blues, light blue, white. It just looks very ethereal, hints of like ocean green. I don't know what you would necessarily call that, seafoam green. It was just beautiful. I thought it was just simplistic. It just made me feel very calm, very like, oh. So I really like the cover, and I love covers. You guys know that. I choose most of my books based off the cover, which I know is like such a bad thing to do, but I do. It just is what it is. My likes about this book were, I really enjoyed the fact that it was about mermaids. I have never read a mermaid book, although I do enjoy mermaid stories as far as like The Little Mermaid, and I'd always wanted to read something that had to do with mermaids, but sometimes I would read the synopsis and it would just be a bit hokey. It would be kind of like, I don't really know if I necessarily want to delve into that, even though I did. It was like, I don't really know if it would be worth it, so I just never read a book based off mermaids. So I was really excited that this was about mermaids, and I really did love the mermaid aspect of this book. Now my dislikes about this book were that it was a little bit short, and I believe it was only like 272 pages, don't quote me, but I think it was about that many pages. It was very, very short. It was a super quick read. I feel like if they had given it even just another like 50 pages, I feel like it would have done wonders for this book. So my main dislike is that it was a bit short, and because of the shortness, I feel like they didn't get to go into some of the details I wish that they would have gone into. Overall, I thought the book was a good read. It was a quick read. It was a nice read if you have some time to kill on a nice sunny day, if you're looking to get into mermaid books. If you love The Little Mermaid, I think this might be a book that's right up your alley, because it was an overall a really good book. The book centers around two sisters, Esmerine and Dulcinea, and they are mermaids. Now, in the mer world, the highest of high that you can get to is to be a siren. And sirens are keepers of the sea. And what they do is they take in all of the tributes that the seamen give to the ocean when they sail out and away. They'll give gold coins, they'll give food, they'll give tools, they dump them in the sea. That way they can have safe trips on the waters, and the sirens will catch all that and take it back to their home under the ocean. And the sirens also protect the sea from seamen who don't want to give tributes, who just want to capture all these fish in the sea and want to have safe travels but never give anything back. And what they do, unfortunately, is they will sink their ships and kill them. So, this book definitely tells you the two differences between mermaids. The mermaids that we know and love and how cute and nice they are, and sirens sing these beautiful songs. And then the deadly part about sirens is that they do sink ships and kill seamen who do not pay tribute and who are essentially trying to kill their ocean. So, Esmerine and Dulcinea are both sirens. They come from the same family, and that is extremely unusual for two sea women from the same family to end up becoming sirens. So this is like the greatest thing that could ever be bestowed upon their family. I mean, because their family is just sea merchants. Essentially, they would be like what fishermen are to humans. That's what her family is to the sea world. So for her and her sister, Esmerine and Dulcinea, to both become sirens, it has just elevated their family to the highest platform. Their family could not be more proud of them, and they are just, everybody's just like, wow, two sisters from the same family have become sirens. This is an amazing honor. Well, sirens have one small problem, and the problem with sirens is that although they protect the ocean from seamen, sirens naturally have a draw to humans. That's why they are chosen to become sirens. However, they are taught from a very young age to fight that urge to want to be near humans, because humans are bad. All they will do is hurt you and kill you. And the myth goes is that human men will capture sirens. They will capture them from the ocean, they will talk to them on land, and they'll capture them, and what they'll do is they'll steal their siren belt. A siren belt is a belt that sirens wear around their waist, and it hones in all of their magic, all of the mythology, everything that sirens are, that belt holds. And once you either willingly give that belt away to somebody or somebody steals it, you can no longer go back to the ocean. You're stuck on land. The one thing that mermaids do have that they go into is that mermaids can change their tails into legs. Although it's a painful process to think about it and have your fins change into legs, and it's painful to walk on feet because you've never walked on them before because they have fins, a lot of especially female mer people will do it so that way they can go on land and kind of see what's going on. But that's how a lot of them end up getting captured, because they do go and kind of like want to see what human people are like, and so they'll change their fins over to legs, and then they end up getting captured by human men and get their siren belts taken away from them, and then they're stuck on land. They can't go back home. And a lot of times these men beat the sirens once they become full human and just really mistreat them. And so clearly the Sea World is against especially the girls changing themselves into humans and going on land for any reason whatsoever. They don't even want them talking to humans. And that's where we come into the problem with Dulcinea and her sister Esmerine. Now, Esmerine is the younger sister, and when Esmerine was younger, she had a friend named Alander who would come to the seashore and would talk to her and bring her books, and they would just hang out. And they hung out for a couple of years. Now, Alander is not a mer person. He's what they call a bird person. And a bird person essentially is like an eagle with a human body. Instead of having necessarily hands right here, you have these bird wings, but you have a human body here, and then your feet and your hands have like tail and hands on them. They explained it in the book, but they really didn't explain the mythology necessarily behind them. So that part of the story did get a bit confusing, because for a while there, the way they described them made them sound like angels. And in my head, I kept thinking they were angels, 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 and they're not. They're bird people, like I said, like eagles. So then at that point, I would just think of him as a human until they would bring it back up again that he was a bird person, because it was a bit confusing, because they didn't really delve into the background story of the bird people the way they did with the mer people. So Esmerine and Alander have been friends since they were younger, but then Alander had to go away to university and he never came back to see her again. Well, Dulcinea and Esmerine are supposed to go up to the ocean one morning, set their siren outlook, to do their duties for the day, and Dulcinea doesn't show up. Well, Dulcinea has run away to the land. Dulcinea has just got a crazy idea in her head and said, you know what, I want to know what human life is like, I'm going to go check it out. That was a bad idea, because Dulcinea did not come back all day, all night, not the next day, not the next night, nothing. No sign of Dulcinea. And the weird part about it is that Dulcinea's family is worried about her, the rest of the community is worried about her, but they only worry for about 2 or 3 days, and then they just figure she's been captured by a human, he's stolen her belt, and she's just gone. And they move on with their lives, which I thought was just kind of sort of odd in the book and weird, but I guess I got it because so many mermaids, especially sirens, get captured, that it was kind of like a loss. But I thought that her family would fight a little harder, but they kind of just started to move on with their lives. Everybody except Esmerine, her younger sister. Her younger sister couldn't let it go, even when people said she needed to move on. She needed to find out what happened to her sister. So Esmerine changes herself into a human, makes her fins become legs, and goes out on the land, and she is dead set on trying to find her sister. Find out what happened to her, find out who stole her, and even if she can't bring her back, she just wants to know that her sister is okay, that nothing bad has happened to her. Well, while she's on land, she runs into Alander, her old friend from childhood, and he is working at a bookstore. So she asks him for any knowledge he has, of her sister, and if he could possibly help her to find her sister, Esmerine, because clearly she's been stolen by a human, and she just wants to know that she's okay. And that's really where the story kind of takes off. The rest of it was build up, and then this is where the story takes off. And the story has a couple twists and turns in it. as far as Alander has his own set of secrets that end up coming out, and they really show you why his personality is the way that it is, why he behaves the way that he behaves, and it lets you know who he is as a person. And I really did like the element of the story because they didn't give so much background about the bird people, that when they revealed Alander's secrets, it kind of was like, at least you got a little bit of a glimpse of who he was, even though you didn't get a big glimpse of who bird people necessarily were. Now, as Marine also grows and develops during the story, because she realizes that things she thought she didn't want, she realizes that she does want them in her life. And things that she thought she wanted in her life, she realizes that she doesn't want in her life. And it leads to great confusion for her, because she thought her life was set out the way that it was supposed to be. You know, she was going to come find out what happened to her sister, and then that was that. And things really just take a twist and turn for her, and she has to make a lot of decisions, and a lot of painful decisions. Along with that, trying to find out, you know, what has happened to her sister, where did she disappear to, she realizes that her sister Desinya has her own set of secrets, and she realizes that although her and her sister were very close at one point in time, that perhaps they're not as close as they used to be, or maybe they were just never that close. Maybe it just seemed like that because her sister had things she'd never told Esmerine, you know, things she felt that she had never told Esmerine, that through trying to find her sister, Esmerine finds out that, you know, her sister Desinya is a different person than she thought she was, and that maybe everything is not as it seems, and maybe, you know, rumors about things aren't what they seem, and maybe mythology is not what it seems, and maybe what her parents have told her whole life is something that is not true. But then again, maybe it very well is true, because there are a lot of close calls that happen within this book. So it was a great book of finding out who you are and realizing that sometimes people you love change, you know, and sometimes it's painful to watch someone you love change in ways that you thought that they never would, and kind of leave you behind. And so the book in that respect was a really great story. But like I said, where it lacked was they didn't give a lot of information about the bird people as much as they did the mer people. And I really would have liked that, and I think it's because the book was so short that it kind of just left you not necessarily wanting more in a good way, but wanting more like in a bad way, like just feeling kind of like empty, like the story didn't necessarily complete itself. It tied up nicely as far as it did conclude, but I felt like I didn't like the ending. I thought it was extremely predictable. I didn't want it to end that way. I thought the author could have done something a bit more with it, to give it a real twist of emotion, but she didn't, and it ended the way that it ended, and it wasn't my favorite ending, but, you know, that is what it is. But overall, I would recommend this book. If you like The Little Mermaid, I think that this is a great book for you. If you like mermaid books, I think this is a great book for you. This wasn't the worst book I've ever read, but it was not by far one of the better books I have ever read. It kind of left me with a taste in my mouth that this is the reason why I don't read mermaid stories, even though I always wanted to, because unless it's almost like a fantasy as far as like the length and the detail they're willing to go into, I don't necessarily know that mermaid stories can be done in such a short manner because of all the mythology that is behind them. That if you don't already know it, you might kind of be left behind a bit in the book. So overall, guys, I would rate this a 3 out of 5 cupcakes. I know that is fairly low, but like I said, it's not the worst book I've ever read, but it definitely is not the best book I've ever read. If you have some time to kill on a sunny day, I would go ahead and read the book. It's a quick read. You can get through it, you know, fairly quickly. It's not a bad book by any means. You know, it's a decent story. It's just not a great book. I would not reread it again. But it was okay for what it was. I wish it had been better, but it's okay for what it was. If you have read this book already, please let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. If you haven't read this book already, just let me know in the comments below if you're going to read it. And if you've read any other mermaid books that might actually be better than this book, let me know, because I am willing to give mermaids another go and kind of see what else is out there. Maybe I just didn't pick the best mermaid book offhand. Maybe it was too closely related to The Little Mermaid, because at times it did seem like it was stealing scenes from it. But The Little Mermaid to me was clearly done well, and this book was kind of sort of not done as well as it could have been done. So let me know those things in the comments below, guys. And once again, I gave this a 3 out of 5 cupcakes. And thank you so much for coming by and watching my review on Between the Sea and Sky by Jacqueline Dollamore.